All right, I'm back to talk about track 3, Out of Love from Right Place, Wrong Person. I love this title so much. Again, like all of them, at least to me, it can be taken in multiple ways. Out of love, as in the opposite of in love. I said this in another video. People say in love. Nobody ever says out of love. Like, do you fall out of love? How does that happen? And then for me, out of love, in my mind, it creates a picture of, like, let's say you have a vessel inside of you that's full of all the love that you have. And this one's just like, I'm out of love. Like, I'm fresh out of fucks to give. I'm fresh out of love. And yeah, if a meme could be put to this album, I think fresh out of fucks would be a good one. If you haven't already seen it, go back and watch my last video about the track Nuts, which flows very clearly into this song. You really can't hear it at all. That song ends with, it sounds like a boss fight, and this one very much starts with this kind of discordant, bad dream sound. There's all these different instruments and sounds happening at once that kind of don't work together, but they kind of do work together. It's interesting, the saxophone in particular, and the overall feeling of this song. Like, I don't have the right words for it, but I what I picture is, again, in a video game, when you have met the boss, like poke the boss, and it's some little thing that becomes a big scary thing all of a sudden. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Like, I picture like a boss made out of magma, but he was really mad. The first line is, I'm just a pack of a cigarette, which I find really interesting because cigarettes are consumed, right? He could be saying he felt kind of chewed up and spit out by the industry, but he said, I'm a pack of a cigarette, not a pack of cigarettes. So a pack of a cigarette is like empty. It's like an empty shell. And he says it's going to burn down all the love and the hate, the right and the wrongs, which and then there's something about ashes, which is a callback to the earlier line about feeling high on a forest fire. Notably, one of the lines that's got a lot of attention is the smoking kills, I know it, like basically fuck off. For those who don't know, there was a scandal last November. I looked it up because it's relevant, where I think he posted an Instagram story or an Instagram reel or something of him smoking and very quickly took it down. It was thought to be a mistake. I'm kind of wondering now if it was a mistake, but I have no evidence to either side. And, lots of people, of course, the entire flippin' army internet felt the need to express their opinion about him smoking. And he's like, it's not your business, which I give him full credit for. Like, personally, I think smoking is a poor choice, but it's his choice to make. He's a grown-ass man. He can make that choice if he wants. People just seem unable to keep their mouths shut about their personal choices. So this is him being mad about that. The reason I looked up the timing is that it happened in November 2023. We know that he enlisted like mid-December 2023. So I'm curious if this song was already done, like if the song got added or if the lines got edited. I could just picture him being like, hold on, I have something to say, and everybody being like, oh, the album's done, dude. And he's like, no, I've got something to say. I have no evidence that that's what happened, only that the timeline is, we know that happened like 4 weeks before he enlisted. He says, time to let go of the past, the memories, which it's not the exact same wording. I looked it up, but something about that really reminded me of amygdala. Like, let's take them out one by one. It's time to like take them out and process them and let go of them. He says diaries without priorities, which I think is the British meaning of diaries. Like, I think there it's like your personal schedule. That's called your diary. So again, we're talking about repetitive schedules, which, I mean, their schedules were insane. That makes sense that alone would make you go a little nuts. He says, I think I already killed myself out of the fears. To me, that means he worked so hard to put up a front, maybe not a front, but to be a perfect idol, and he hid so much of himself to do that he feels like he is Kim Namjoon is gone. And it was out of some sense of fear. He says poetry's dead and love's been buried, which to me is maybe about not having love and passion for his work anymore. He said it at some point in some interview that he would have been a poet if he wasn't a rapper. So maybe he feels like he lost his way in that. He's burnt out. He doesn't have passion, especially for the fame, the fans, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Yeah, in one of his lives last year, he talked about how the feeling of love from fans can be overwhelming sometimes. And I think just the true, pure love, yes, but also the love that comes across in ways that are really harmful to you. Stalker type things. And yeah, I mean, you've seen some of the just really creepy stuff that people put out there, and that must be really hard. And it comes maybe from a place of love from the other side, but it doesn't feel like love to him. So maybe that's what he's talking about with the truth. That you don't have the same truth. In between this verse and the next verse, there's some really interesting whispering and like subtle words that are not in the official lyrics. I haven't found anything on Google, so I tried to just listen to it really loud and listen to what I could hear them saying, and it sounded like something like somebody dishing on me, which is a reference maybe to the dishes lyric a few lines above. So I heard dishing on me, maybe dissing, hissing. I heard always shitting on him. And in the verse right before that, he says something, I don't belong here. And like, I feel that sentiment of like, you feel out of place in the sense of they make you feel out of place, like you don't belong, but also like, I don't want to be here. This is not a place where I want to be participating. You just continue to hear these overlapping sounds that again don't quite work together, or they're hard to listen to, but they kind of do work together. It's almost like the sounds of like a jazz band or an orchestra like tuning up. That's kind of what it sounds like, but with a hip hop beat to it. The last verse, which I'll put up here.
Honesty's always a crime. Just tell me if you need a dime. Why they can't give you my time? Can't waste you my goddamn time. You know you was a crime. You care for my body, can't fuck my mind.
Amazing. The last two lines, you can fuck my body, but you can't fuck my mind. It's like you can use me, but you can't have my soul. And that could be taken in a couple of ways, none of which are the literal interpretation. It reminds me of something that like a prostitute in a movie would say. I think to some degree, the life of an idol might feel that way sometimes, This song, probably more than any other, feels like it's directed at the idol industry, fans, both toxic fans and sometimes army, well-intentioned fans who do things wrong. People who think that they're looking out for BTS, but it comes off in a really paternalistic kind of way. Sometimes I see things and I try not to comment on it because it feels like talking about it is going to add more fuel to the fire, if that makes sense. It just feels better if it's something's not truth and lie wrong. It feels like just let people express their opinions and let it, peter out or whatever. But maybe we should speak up more. And I'll be honest, it's definitely made me question things I've done. I try to be respectful, but I'm not perfect. And I will definitely keep this song in mind when I do things going forward. After those pretty epic last two lines, it goes straight into Domodachi. There's an abrupt cut and goes into the next song, which is notable because so many of the other songs, there's a flow into the next song, and this was just like end scene, move on. So the picture that goes with this one is some kind of little being that is very sad and upset and looks deflated, but also looks a little bit frantic, like it's kind of anxious, panic attack kind of vibes. Whereas this sadness, this is the one from right people, wrong place, that clearly looks like despair to me. This is anxiety to me. For those of you who made it this far, this is a series. I'm going through each song on the album because it just really inspired me to put my brain to work. I love reading y'all's thoughts too, so please put them in the comments. I love hearing what you think.